Hey Bit Squad, welcome back to the channel. Today, you guys are going to be listening to episode 21 of my podcast, Beards and Bitcoins. This week, we had Hayden on from Conspiracies to talk about that awesome Quadriga video that he made this week. And we're going to talk a lot about the QuadrigaCX, some of the kind of inconsistencies with the story and things like that. So make sure you guys watch and pay attention and make sure you understand. Not your keys, not your crypto.
Welcome back to your newest favorite podcast, Beards and Bitcoins, where bitboy and jchains get together each week to talk about crypto and things happening in the community. They will bring you some special guests and giveaways, so make sure you're subscribed. For all show-related news, you can find the guys on various social media outlets. Everything is listed on the official show Twitter account, @BeardsBitcoins. Now, without further introduction, two dudes that have beards, like Bitcoins, and want to talk to you about both, bitboy and jchains.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to your favorite podcast, Beards and Bitcoins. We are here, episode number 21, just still continuing to fly by faster than you can imagine. I am your co-host, Bitboy. That is your other co-host, jchains. How are you doing, jchains?
What is up? Yeah, things are going well, man. I hope everyone's doing well. You've had a great week. Super excited about today's episode. Quick shout out to our show sponsor, Hodl Fuel. Check them out, coffee on the web, hodlfuel.com, or you can get them on Twitter, on Instagram, I think, hodl fuel, @hodlfuel. So check it out. Drop promo code Beards Bitcoin. Save yourself 10%. Save some ducats. All right.
And we're gonna be handing out the Hodl Fuel coffee, correct, from our last contest. We got to pick our contest winners for our Cardano this week.
Absolutely. So that will be announced when you see this episode. We'll announce the winners, and then the new contest for our final contest of this with Hodl Fuel right now will be announced.
I think this is our last Hodl Fuel contest. So
this might be. So,
yeah.
So be on the lookout for that. But look forward to today's episode. I'm really looking forward to discussing this.
Yeah, it's crazy. So today we're going to be talking about Quadriga and everything that's gone on with there. So we're joined today by Litecoin, right? Is that what they call him? Litecoin? That's Lil apostrophe chains. He's an attorney, correct? Finance attorney or
commercial litigation, construction law actually, but many things, general practice. So
all right,
pretty much a little bit of anything.
jchains' brother right here on the podcast.
That's right.
And then specifically to discuss the QuadrigaCX, we have Hayden from Conspiracies, who made an incredible video. One of the best videos I feel like I ever watched, honestly. I was just engaged and engrossed in the whole thing. So we certainly are happy to have you on. How are you doing today?
Not bad. I appreciate the great feedback on the video, and I think I want to make some more in that same kind of style now as well about other things, because there's certainly no shortage of content that'd be fitting for that kind of video.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, the style was super cool. Like bitboy said, the information and as you presented it, it kept wanting me more. I think the 11 minutes, whatever that your video was, kind of flew by, and I was just super excited to watch it.
Well, it's
crazy.
Yeah, good. It actually turns out that that's like the kind of target for length of video you want to aim for with the YouTube content like that. I think anything more and most people lose their attention span.
Was it 11 minutes or 14 minutes, something like that?
Yeah, it was like just under 12 minutes.
Yeah, that's good. I'm so long-winded, and when I make all my videos, like, I'm always like, okay, guys, this is going to be a short video today, and then like 25 minutes later, I'm like, oh, I'm really sorry. I like to talk, but
yeah,
they go on. It's okay.
well, before we get into the Quadriga situation, which is so fascinating, let's do our Twitter shout out. Is the monarchtoken.io Twitter shout out, where we pick people on Twitter that we think are doing good stuff. Maybe not necessarily even on Twitter, but they have Twitter handles and they're doing good stuff, and we want to shout them out. So, sponsored by Monarch Token, which is associated with the Monarch wallet, of course. You guys make sure to check that out, monarchtoken.io. They're always having new updates. They're working real hard on Monarch Pay right now, which you're going to be able to, pay bills with Monarch and stuff like that. So definitely go give those guys a follow. Check out their page. You can find their social media from their website. So
they're crushing their roadmap right now, from what I'm looking at, man. Just crushing it.
Yeah. So in a time when a lot of projects aren't really doing much, they are constantly innovating. So really excited to see where that project is going to be in the next year or two. So, well, let's do our Twitter shout outs. jchains, let's start with you today. Who are you shouting out?
Well, the guy I'm going to shout out, he's no stranger now to crypto Twitter. I think he just, I don't know if he pledged allegiance, but we all know he's watching and he's involved. Jack, the CEO, Jack Dorsey of Twitter. He's like a crypto guy. I think he's probably more of a Bitcoin maximalist.
He's not a crypto guy. He's a Bitcoin guy.
He's a Bitcoin guy. But anyhow, I mean, regardless, a guy, you like him or love him, doesn't matter. He's got a position like that. He's taking a position about Bitcoin. It's only going to help what we're trying to do. So cheers, man. Thanks for the Bitcoin shout out. Now I'll let the rest of the chips fall.
Yeah, I think it was very interesting to see what he said. And I didn't know this, but apparently, he's invested into Lightning Labs, which is, behind the Lightning Network. So he's got a lot he's doing in the space, kind of behind the scenes. And a lot of people think that when he said Bitcoin Twitter, it was specifically a jab at crypto Twitter. Because it's different. I mean, if you don't know this, Bitcoin Twitter and crypto Twitter are not the same thing. There's a whole world of Bitcoin maximalists out there that just like to basically talk amongst themselves. So a lot of people think he did that very intentionally. But I don't know. Maybe we're reading too much into it. But who I want to shout out this week, a friend of the show, Satoshi Dropper, which is Crypto Stash. You guys go follow Crypto Stash. Yeah, he was on the Coin Boys podcast this week with Altcoin Sarah, which was pretty cool. But he is working on a super secret project right now that I'm kind of involved in a little bit. Don't want to give you all the details, but when this thing launches, it's going to be like really, really cool. And he's working hard, so definitely want to give him a shout out. You guys go follow him on Twitter. So Hayden, what about you? Who do you have that you'd like to shout out?
Yeah, I want to shout out Mike in Space, if you know him, because I just came across his YouTube channel this week. And I thought that he was putting out some legitimately pretty funny content, and it's all crypto related and like crypto guests. So I had a good laugh there. So put out more videos, please, Mike in Space.
Yeah, have to go check that out. Man, I just come across people on YouTube. I had never seen your channel before. Like you just come across channels every day that are doing phenomenal things, and unfortunately, just due to the market, like there's a lot of people out there. Ringing endorsement for myself. I feel like I'm one too. That kind of started, after the bull run, and it's just been kind of hard to build that momentum that a lot of people were able to get back in 2017. So there's a lot of content creators that are putting out great stuff.
Yeah, dude, BitBoy, you are like the James Brown of crypto Twitter videos. Like you are the hardest working man in crypto.
Yeah, I couldn't believe YouTube cut out my intro the other night, but the video did pretty well on Twitter. It's got almost 10,000 views on it. My South Park quadriga.
It was the South Park that they cut out the South Park part, right?
Yeah, which was so crazy because like it wasn't an actual South Park video I took. It was from somebody's YouTube channel, and then I dubbed some voices over it, and they banned my account or my video, so I had to cut the intro out. But it was basically having to do with Quadriga, which is what we're going to talk about today. It was the South Park scene where it's like. And it's gone, where it was everybody's money and it was just gone. So, but let's start. So let's get into the topic today. So, like I said, it's very interesting. And hey, you've obviously done a lot of research on this, and I could probably summarize it myself, but I want to give you a chance. Just kind of give us the 30,000 foot view of Quadriga and what's going on right now.
Yeah. So, it was revealed just in January this year that the CEO of the exchange QuadrigaCX died, and they waited over a month to tell the customers of the exchange that he died and supposedly had access to the cold storage private keys. And then you go and look into other details of the circumstances of his death, and it sounds really weird, kind of like it's out of a movie script. And yeah, then you dig deeper, and there's a lot of things that actually don't add up, like how he mentioned in an interview in 2015 that they actually use multi-sig for their cold storage. So obviously other people might have access to a 2 or 3 wallet or something like that. So why can't they access the funds? How did it all go down with this one guy? And then he supposedly he died from a disease that doesn't normally kill people at this age. The average life expectancy is up to like 58 years old on average.
It was what, 30? He was in his
Yeah, he was
30s, right?
only 30 years old, and he was diagnosed 6 years ago. And then, yeah, there's a number of other things like Quadriga actually had another co-founder that it wasn't really well known. And, well, at least he'd taken a step back from the company in recent times. But that guy has actually got a very serious past full of criminal history, and history that I'm sure people using their exchange wouldn't feel so comfortable with if they had known about it.
Including prison
Yeah.
time.
And yeah, it appears that that information had been raised as a concern by a few community members in the past, but it didn't really get any traction and not many people knew about it. So now there's questions being raised whether or not this guy had something to do with what has just happened now recently.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I have a guy who is not even into cryptocurrency who I talked to today, and he said, "What's up with that guy that stole that $190 million?" You know?
Yeah.
So
one of my friends told me he traveled to the US, and as he was entering the country, the border agents talked to him. They said they asked about the same thing. They'd heard about it, and it came up because he said he was coming for a Bitcoin conference, and then they started questioning him about the guy that stole $150 million or disappeared with $150 million. Yeah.
Yeah, the Reddit rabbit holes are deep on this one for sure.
Oh yeah, some of those comments are just crazy. That was, I mean, because everybody knew about it, but now that I don't know, after watching your video, I kind of understand these other sides of perspective. But it brings up a good point. You said in a video that he did, I think in 2015, about how he said they did the multi-sig wallets, but now he's the only one with the private keys. Yeah, I mean, how is this story going to come about? How is it going to unfold, and where are they going to get the truth from? Who has these things?
I don't know. Definitely, in my opinion, I think it's definitely an exit scam. And when you're running a business of that size and you're in custody of so much of your customers' funds, you cannot be that incompetent.
No.
I do not believe the official story where they say, oh, you ran it from a laptop in his basement and he was the only one who had private keys. It's just very unbelievable to me that was the official narrative.
It's crazy. I give exactly a 0% chance that the story we're getting is the real story. I mean, and I brought this up kind of before we were on air. To me personally, listening to it, it almost seems like too idiotic of a scheme for a person to do on their own. I mean, I think there's got to be other people involved. I think that there might be. I don't know. I've been finding out how much organized crime is in cryptocurrency, including SIM card swapping. If you don't know SIM card swapping, that is heavily influenced by organized crime. They reach out to people inside the phone companies. The workers at the phone companies are in on the SIM card swapping and stuff like that. So I know they have a heavy presence when it comes to trying to steal cryptocurrency. So I don't know. Could there be some kind of organized crime element to this? It sounds like an episode out of The Sopranos, to me.
There's something else that I didn't mention in the video, but it was brought to my attention that there's actually a lot of financial fraud and financial criminal activity going on in Canada. And it's actually like a bit of a hub for where this kind of activity takes place. And the regulators or law enforcement there, they don't really crack down on it as much, or the penalties are not as high either, from what I've been told. And apparently a lot of crimes there in the gambling industry as well, and stuff to do with gold and money laundering.
Well, that brings up a very interesting point, which maybe we can get kind of Matt's opinion on. But when it comes to financial crimes, right? I think people have this idea that there's these people get punished very harshly, but most financial crimes, like you get a slap on the wrist, you get a fine. Like you got to think, like if you steal $20 million from somebody and you do it digitally, like how long, and you get caught, like how long are you going to go to prison for that? Like what, 10 years? You know, if it's your first time, you get 10 years, but you got $20 million. That sounds like a good trade-off to most people. Do you have any, any comments on that, Matt?
Not generally. I'm not too versed on that in and of itself, but I think you're right about that. I think that sometimes these trade-offs can be, these people are going to walk away with millions and millions and maybe only do, 3, 5, 10 years. So to them, it might seem like a good trade-off. Yeah,
I think that's a lot of what happens. They're just...
But they can't take the money, right? That's what you mean. That's why they get to walk away with it, because it is digitally. When, like, if you're a company and you scheme a bunch of cash, they're going to seize those assets, and the IRS or whoever's going to take them. But with digital assets, with crypto, they're obviously untraceable if they've done the right thing, and that's why you're saying they can walk with it if they're
right, because the money will be waiting for them somewhere.
Yeah, it's kind of a big leveler here, making it where, you really can sit there and say, like, okay, if I could pull this off and I could sit the money somewhere nobody can touch it, like, is it worth it? Now, that's not taking into consideration someone's moral code, right? So, like, I have a moral code. I wouldn't do something like that. It's just not something I would do. But there's a lot of people out there that the only reason they don't do things is simply for the fact that they think they might get caught. They don't have the same kind of moral compass that a lot of people have. But, yeah, so anyways... just back kind of the main point here is I'm not convinced it's an exit scam in terms of, he was the guy behind it. There may have been, possible extortion here going on where kind of someone was forcing him to go down this road. We don't know. And then the role of Michael Patrin, which, what's his alias? Or that's his alias. His real name was Omar Dinani. Is that right?
That was at least the first name that we know he was going by.
4 or 5 names.
Yeah. God, it is. And he was part of something called the Shadow Crew, which is like a hacking group, basically. And then he had his own sect from the hacking group where he was doing money laundering. And I think that's where he got in trouble and probably went to prison in 2000, when he got released in 2007. I'm not sure how far.
And who knows? They could have been also selling the ID information of customers on the Quadriga exchange.
That's a good point. haven't even thought about that. It's just, this thing is so wide reaching, but I think that one thing that I think people need to understand, if you have money on Quadriga, because something I saw that was so interesting in the Reddit comments were a lot of the people on Reddit are very angry at people bringing up this story and putting a spotlight on it, because they feel like if they have money on there, it's now going to be longer before they can get their money back. Had you seen any of those type of comments, like, why would you bring this up or something like that?
I didn't, but I think that talking about it and bringing these issues to light actually causes swifter action to be taken.
I agree. I agree with that. It really confused me to see, why people were getting angry at them for bringing it up, unless maybe, I don't know, they're bots or something.
They could have been operatives that were involved in it and trying to, like, stop people from digging and finding out information. And one of the big problems that I have with, like, law enforcement everywhere is that they don't do their job. And in these days when the internet exists to the extent that it does, people from all over the world are going and doing these kinds of investigations on their own. And because there's so many people doing it simultaneously, they find more information, they find things that you wouldn't find if you're doing it on your own. And then all of that can be like pulled together and looked over by somebody to confirm whether it's all legit or not.
Well, and, in my opinion, probably most investigators from your average precinct, I'm sure, don't have nearly the amount of, web knowledge as, your average Reddit user. I could be wrong about that. Maybe times are changing, but, I know there's definitely younger police officers and younger investigators, but there is a gap between, you know, people in their 20s, 30s, and people in their 40s and 50s when it comes just to being able to understand how to use the internet to find technologies or to find information.
You mean they're not all like the actors and stuff on CSI where they know everything and they've got the screens that go everywhere and
yeah,
they got to act.
I don't think so. But I think I don't know. You guys correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think we would probably all agree that no one on Quadriga is getting their money back.
I don't know about that. I might be able to. I might think differently on that. I think that, you know, from what I've read about the situation, you know, the court has basically put a stay on the bankruptcy right after this guy died. This Cotten died, the CEO. The company went to bankruptcy court and filed bankruptcy, and you know, all these investors in Quadriga they came together. They're suing the company. They want their money, and you're thinking maybe they're not going to get it back, but the court in this case put a stay on the case that they're allowing an attorney 30 days to try to hack into the cold storage and see if they can get the keys and get the money out. And if they can't, then the company could have recourse to sell itself, and which there might not be a lot of assets, but there might be some money involved that if they sell themselves, you know, that money would go towards the investors.
Yeah, definitely when you're hitting hard financial times, selling yourself is the best method. What? No?
I saw
Yeah.
Jesse from Kraken said, because people were asking him to go buy them out.
Yeah.
And he said, I wouldn't touch this company.
No.
It's like already the name has been trashed.
Yeah, why would you do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like whatever happened with BitGrail, right? Because it was the
closed.
They closed down. But what did they? I mean, I have a buddy who had, a ton on that, and so like he has no idea. He said it's probably going to be wrapped up in the court system for years.
Oh, for sure. I think.
Not your keys next year, no.
Yeah, they just had a big. There was some big case that just happened. Lawsuit with it that. I can't remember what the end result was, but it is just continuing to go on and on. Basically, Nano, a.k.a. Rayblocks, formerly known as Rayblocks, Nano and BitGrail have just been pointing fingers at each other. Now, BitGrail tried to reopen, I believe, it was probably over the summer. Maybe it was in April or May. It tried to reopen, and as soon as it reopened, the Italian court shut them down and said, no, you cannot reopen. So they're close for good. I doubt Quadriga is going to ever be able to reopen again. And it was the CEO. It was the brainchild behind the whole thing is gone anyways. So, there's really nothing I think they can do to save it. And I'll tell you one thing, though, Matt, that you were saying about, you know, if they're able to hack into the cold storage, then that's a loss for crypto.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Good point.
So I'm sure if you have, they said there were some people that had hundreds of thousands of dollars on there. It didn't sound like anybody had over $1 million in there or anything like that, but there were a few people that had over 100,000. And you know, if you got 100,000 on there, like you're in a bad spot right now. I don't think even if they sold their assets, I don't even know if they sold all of the things that that Gerald Cotten had signed over in his will to his wife. If you even sold all that stuff, you wouldn't be able to come close. Now there was $100,000 in his will set aside for their 2 chihuahuas, correct?
Right.
Yeah, I think so. That's what I read.
So why can't any of that money go to anybody who's lost money on this guy's exchange?
It might, but it's going to be a drop in the bucket to $190 million. But here's something. So people were throwing out this $190 million number. Then people were throwing out this $150 number. Now it seems like I'm hearing $137 million. Hey, do you have any insight on like what is the actual amount, or what do we think the closest guess is right now?
I think it's just various people in different districts like the US, Australia, other countries. They're just looking at the dollar amount and it's not specified what currency it's in.
Oh, gotcha.
And then some of them are like converting it and it just keeps getting higher. But I think it was like around just under 150,000 US dollars.
150 million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yes. 150 million US dollars.
Yeah. If it's 150,000, we could probably get a GoFundMe page to pay them all back. I don't think we're going to get 150 million.
Yep. 150 million, just under, I think. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure because that's what some of the more earlier sources were saying, and also in official documentation, I converted the Canadian dollars amount.
Yeah.
Hayden, so is this guy sitting on a beach somewhere, or is he in a grave?
I don't know. There was another option that I considered. Yeah, either one, he's on a beach somewhere and like involved in it all, or two, maybe he was set up and taken out.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are probably the two options that I would suspect at this point.
Yeah, I don't think there's another option. Like I said, I don't think there's any way that this is a face value story, that we're getting the truth on this. I mean, it would be different if it was like, if there was one thing. If it was like, oh well, they say he died of Crohn's disease and he wasn't really sick. Like, okay, yeah, that kind of happens sometimes. Like, people die from stuff randomly, you know. But then when you start factoring in the fact that, you know, this orphanage he bought, it's a plug and play thing. Like, it's basically like it's. In some ways, it's similar to when you go to Publix, if you're rich and like to shop at Publix. That's the rich person grocery store around here. That's a little joke we make. But Publix, you know, you go there and like you check out and they're like, you know, would you like to donate $1 to the, you know, St. Jude's Hospital? You're like, okay, yes. And you just click the button and then that money gets donated. This is actually pretty similar with the way these orphanages are set up. They have different amounts, you know, kind of like the, you know, Feed the Children of Africa thing. Like, there's certain amounts. You pick the amount, it tells you what that amount is going to get you, and you pay for it, and then they put it into practice, and they put your name on it. So there's no, and this is a pretty reputable orphanage that I think that has many different locations. So none of these other people are going over there and helping them set up the orphanage. They don't even need that. It's really just you're funding it. So when you factor in, he died of Crohn's disease. He didn't even seem to be sick. He got married 2 weeks before this, which is very crazy. The orphanage didn't need him to come over there, you know, by any stretch of the imagination. Then you add in another sketchy thing, which is they had a federal court case that was involving $20 million of frozen funds that was actually just settled, what 1 week before he died, you know? So when you add in all of these different factors, like there's too much suspension of belief that has to occur here in order to think that we're getting the right story.
Yeah, I want to actually find out more information, or I want them to tell us more about that guy, Jose Reyes, who was the one that transferred at the end of 2017. He tried to transfer $2.3 million to his personal bank account from the business account, which is like, obviously if you run a business, that's a big no-no. And that's why they froze the accounts to begin with. Why was he transferring all that money to his personal account from the business? So anyway, they sorted it out the week before the CEO died, and supposedly these accounts were released and the funds were released to him. And now, it's unclear what he's been doing since then or where he is. Yeah,
would love to get a statement from him. And that's why, see, it's things like that. And then you talk about the involvement of Michael Bertrand, known scammer, convicted felon. Like, it's when you start adding in those pieces of this puzzle that you really start to kind of get a clearer picture, in my opinion, that this is not a one-person thing. This guy did not just decide, hey, you know what? I think I want to take all these people and I'll go to the beach by myself. I'll find some girl, pretend I love her and marry her, and I'll pass off some of my assets. Yeah. And then I'm just going to go disappear. Like, there's just too many other pieces of this that make me think that just is not the case. At minimum, like I said, I think other people are involved.
It's not like the weird stuff has been happening just recently with the death. There's been ongoing things for many years.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. Like you said, it's so unbelievable that it's unbelievable. How long did he have any kind of relationship we know with that woman?
How long was the relationship?
Yeah, well, was it fresh? I know that they had just gotten married, but I mean,
Yeah.
you know, they have something set up. Was she like a long-term friend of his, and he's like, "Hey, let's do this, and I'll kick you down some cash and see
I
you." Have
I don't think she's involved in it, honestly. In my opinion, I don't. I mean, I could be wrong, but to me, it seems like if you were involved in this, and you're, I don't know her history. She, from everything I've seen, which has not been much, it seems like she's just a normal human, like you or I, And it seems like she's been left holding the bag here for the whole situation. And I feel like if this like how crazy all this is, the fact that she would volunteer and be like, "Oh, you know what? Yeah, just put it all on me and I'll answer all the questions." Like that to me seems unlikely, but I could be wrong.
Yeah. I don't think, I agree with what you're saying. And it was hard to find out more information about her because obviously this has been ongoing now for a month nearly since the customers found out about what happened. So like they've been harassing her, like trying to find out information on her social media and stuff. And yeah, by the time the story was really blowing up, she'd already deleted it all. So yeah.
Yeah, you just can't. Like, I understand people are active traders, right? I do some active trading. I understand people do that, and if you're going to be an active trader, then you need to make sure that only a certain percentage of your money you're trading is on a certain exchange, because this is the type of thing in crypto that we're still having happen. We're having exit scams. We're having people swindling people out of money. We're having hacks occur. And the lesson from this is just what we already know. You cannot keep all of your money on an exchange, or there's a good chance at some point you're going to lose it.
Absolutely. And people are just getting so much more desperate. The longer the market stays the way that it is, people are going to be finding new ways to scheme and scam. And so not your keys, not your crypto. Like you said, pull it off the exchange.
Yeah, it's and it's something like I can, like a lot of people know, like I was phished. I fell for it. I was an idiot back, and I guess it was maybe in June or May sometime. I don't know. I don't remember when it was. Sometime over the summer maybe. But I was phished by that EOS gas scam that was going around, and they hit me. They said it confused me. They said, give me your signature. But they didn't say it like that. It was in an official capacity. It was for an airdrop. And they're like, we're doing KYC. All you got to do is give us your signature from your MyEther wallet. If they had said, hey, give us your private keys, I would have been like, duh, you never give your private keys away. But they said, get a signature. And I didn't even know what that meant. I was like, sure, a signature is just some long code. I didn't realize that my private key, or basically I was signing over to them to be able to go into the wallet. And so, I made a mistake. It was stupid. I learned a lot from it. The good thing is the money that was stolen from me, as the price has continued to drop in the markets, like now it's only worth like a few $100. Like at the time it was worth about 2,500, but now it's worth, a few hundred. So it doesn't hurt as bad as it hurt back then. But you just got to learn how to protect yourself in this environment, because it really it's guerrilla warfare out there, and it doesn't help the situation when we're not just getting it from hackers and scammers that are trying to get into our accounts, but now it's the very people who hold our accounts.
Matthew, you bring up a good point, BitBoy. And Matthew, kind of to that and kind of keeping everything safe, are you seeing, or do you think you'll start to see a much bigger increase in people looking for custodial management of their funds, digitally? And, who do you trust to do that? Do you trust a lawyer to do that? Is that how that would be?
And that's a great point, jchains. We talked about this earlier, actually, a day or two ago. And yes, I do think that custodial management of crypto is going to be something that you're going to see a rise in, because while I think a lot of users of crypto are drawn to the anonymity of these assets, that characteristic in and of itself is what's might be problematic in terms of things like we've seen with the QuadrigaCX CEO, losing all of losing the key. Nobody knows about it. So I think that custodial management is, and then another side point is that I think you're seeing a lot of hesitancy in terms of mainstream investors getting on board with crypto. And I think one of the reasons is because it's people see these perceived risks. And so one of the things that might change that is custodial management. And so you're seeing a lot of these big institutions like Goldman Sachs, Fidelity, even maybe some of the newer ones like Coinbase it's a big new one. Some other ones, Northern Trust, the New York Stock Exchange. You might see some of these people, these groups, becoming custodial managers of people's crypto.
Yeah. Now, answer this question for me. So we have Fidelity coming into place, supposedly, launching next month. But kind of what we've seen, I don't know if you guys have noticed this. Maybe I'm the only person picking up on this, but probably not. It seems like over the last 3 to 4 months, it seems like they just keep pushing the carrot forward. Like it's like, all right, all this stuff's going to launch in December. Oh, we're going to wait till January. Then they move it to January. Now they're talking about March. I don't know how long it's going to be before a lot of these custodial solutions really come into play. But like with Fidelity, with custody, basically what they're doing is they're taking control of your crypto, right? And they're keeping it safe for you. Now, will this only be for institutional investors? What if I want to put, what if I got $600 on Coinbase and I want to, move it over to a custody solution because I just said, you know what, I put $600 in, I'm going to keep it no matter what. And I don't even want to have the option to trade it. Is that an option, or is this just for institutional investors?
No, I think it is an option for smaller and larger. And I think, jchains, you had mentioned another thing, and that was, well, where do you want to go? Do you want to use these institutional groups? Do you want to use an attorney? And I think the answer to that can be yes. I think you should use an attorney. I think with all things, you want to create a will and a trust to protect your money and or your assets in general, not just your money. And another good point is we saw this Quadriga CEO. He made a will just 12 days before he left to go to India. And that's another big thing is it's good that he made a will because definitely an attorney would tell you before you travel, you should make a will for these reasons. Exactly. And so I think you could use a will and a trust to protect your money as opposed to, a larger group like this Fidelity is now coming on the market. I think you could just create a will or a trust to create the same purpose.
Yeah. Could you explain how the trust, like a trust, comes into play? Because I don't know, maybe I'm a little confused. I feel like if I want to keep my crypto safe and I want to hand it over to somebody else and say, which kind of sounds backwards, but if I want to keep my crypto safe and give it to somebody else to keep it safe, I don't understand how a will would do that same thing.
Are you talking about crypto that you've got on the market actively involved with a exchange, or something that you've got, just stored on cold storage in a wallet?
Some stored cold storage, or even on, either way, because a will is just going to help if I still own my crypto. But I guess I'm referring to trying to keep people from stealing your crypto. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because like in a will, like where are you gonna put your private keys? Like in your will, and how would that happen?
Which you lock in a safe, which you entrust with an attorney who has attorney-client privilege, who's not sharing that, who's not stealing that.
Gotcha.
I think you're keeping it safe that way.
I understand. Okay, that makes sense.
There've always been people talking about putting your you put it in cold storage, you put it on a thumb drive, and you get it in a safety deposit box at the bank. I think that if we're talking about all right, what's going to be a safer option for me? One, I'm going to keep it safe either at my home or somewhere that I've hidden, right? I think an attorney would be second. And then I think my third option would be a safety deposit box, because I think there's too many variables. And if some bozo decides to rob the bank, then
or rob your house.
You need both. Like that, the way I do it, I'll just tell people how I do it. Like I have a safety deposit box where I have some of my private keys in there. And I also have another place where I have them as well, and I've got them on titanium plates. So if there's a fire or a flood, they'll still be there. You guys, the one I got, I think is called Crypto Steel, and you have to buy like a $5 etching pen or engraving pen. You can buy it on Amazon. I have my sister write them, so she knows. But I have my sister write them because she's got great handwriting. But so I think in that situation you're fine. But like, what if the bank gets robbed? Now I was really careful at the bank to make sure I'm like, okay, how is this protected if there's a natural disaster or whatever it might be, So I did that, and then I've got another spot too because, you don't really just want one because there's a disaster that could happen at either one, but the chance of a disaster happening at both, I think, is pretty small.
Yeah, it's in a coffee can under the tree.
Don't
The
you
big
tell
hill.
him.
There you go.
Don't you tell him. So, all right, hey, Hayden, I want to ask you this question. Kind of because like I can just tell like how much research you did in this story. Like there's so much that you did. When you first set out to kind of cover this and make this video, and then by the time you completed doing your research, and I assume you're probably still digging around a little bit, but you know, what was something that you learned from all this, or something that you were surprised at that maybe isn't like, not like maybe a fact about the case and the situation, but something you just feel like you learned in terms of keeping your crypto safe or whatever it might be?
Yeah, I was just surprised really at how many people still have not learned from the past mistakes here. And it looks like they're just going to keep repeating it. And until more and more people learn the hard way. And it's not a problem with cryptocurrency or Bitcoin itself, this in particular, which it is made out in the mainstream to be. But it is just the fact that, if you don't control the private keys, they're not really your coins. So, yeah, that's kind of disappointing in that regard. It doesn't reflect well on the whole space because people just don't understand the reality of the situation as well.
Well, I agree with that 100%. And to me, like something I've really tried to do and make sure that I've been doing is I've tried to learn from my past mistakes. You know, I try to learn from, you know, everybody knows in 2017, everybody killed it and nobody took any profits, you know, and everybody's back to zero almost. So like I had some BTT, which, you know, 6X this week or whatever, was on a tear. And when it got up, it was almost at the peak. I said, you know what? Like my feeling is right now, like I want to do the same thing I did before and keep it running because who knows, maybe it could, you know, double again. But I said to myself, like, regardless of what could happen, like I need to learn these lessons from the last time and I need to take some profits out. So I did. I took some profits out. And it turned out good because I was almost at the peak and now it's had a big dip or whatever. And I think with private keys and exchanges, it's the same thing. Like we can't talk about wanting to do different things and yet people aren't doing them. And I am afraid that when we do have another bull run, when the market finally does turn around, I do believe that we will see all of the same mistakes made again. And it just seems against our nature as humans to change and to do different things. It feels more comfortable to, you know, do the same old thing. Like it's easier just to leave your money in Binance. It's easier, you know, you don't have to figure out as much stuff. And I think that that's really something that hopefully people that watch my channel and listen to our podcast will get, is we're trying to help you to do different things this time so you don't make the same mistakes of the past and you end up like these people on Quadriga. So
don't get wrecked.
Don't get wrecked.
Yeah, it seems that there's like different levels of involvement in cryptocurrency, and the lowest level of involvement is actually just the speculating, and these are the people who are just trying to make a quick buck on exchanges. They don't really care about like cryptocurrency adoption or spending it as a currency. So yeah, that's why they don't move it off the exchanges, and it doesn't really contribute anything back to the ecosystem. It's just speculative gambling, in a sense.
Yeah. Well, you have three types of people in crypto, I believe. You have people that are only in it for the money. Then you have people that believe that it's going to make a change in the world. You know, it's a movement. And then you have people that are developers that want to develop things. Now, the developers and the people that want to change the world, like they still care about the money too. But there's most people in crypto, I believe, in my opinion, are only in it, you know, for the money, and they don't care. You know, I saw yesterday, I don't want to talk about who it was or whatever, but one of the bigger accounts said, you know, I don't care about this stupid thing. I think it's going to fail, but I know I can make money off of it. And I'm just like, you know, I don't think that's the right message for the crypto space, but maybe I'm an idealist.
No, I think that anything negative is damaging. I mean, you know, I think a lot of people who try to be positive, and people are working on that. And yeah, there's the salt and you know, the bear market blues. But I think that you know, it'll come around, and everybody will get it all in together, and we'll just push it forward. And I was going somewhere with that, and I lost kind of my train of thought. But I think that ultimately we really just we're in the space for pushing the mesh adoption. And again, I don't
Yeah.
see.
Looking forward to our giant meetup in April for mass adoption that we're going to be going to. Bitcoin Bins. That's what that's for, right? Biggest meetup in the world, push adoption. So you guys make sure to check that out. We're going to be heading there here in a couple of months. But jchains is already there. He lives there. So, all right, guys, that is all we got for today. Hayden, can you tell them, just tell a little bit about like your involvement with CoinSpice and where people can find you. Like, let me reword the question. Tell people what CoinSpice is and your involvement in that, and tell people where they can find you, because we'd love to help you promote your channel.
Sure, thanks. So it's coinspice.io, the web address, and basically me and some mates decided to start up our own news site, the crypto news site, but it's also covering other technology news that is relevant to Bitcoin and like freedom on the internet and stuff like that. So anyway, it's primarily Bitcoin news, and I am mainly focusing on the YouTube aspect of that. And like prior to this particular video, which we talked about today, there'd been a bunch of interviews and like on the ground at some dev cons and conferences and all sorts of stuff. But we only started doing that in September last year, at the end of September. So things will be continuing to expand and grow going into the future. And I'm actually really looking forward to the next bull market, because as you said, right now the interest is a bit low in cryptocurrency related things. So
it's hard.
When that comes around again, I think things are definitely going to explode.
Yeah.
So yeah, very much looking forward to that. And that's basically it. We also have a podcast. One of the guys who writes articles runs a podcast multiple times a week sometimes. He interviews a lot of interesting guests on there. And that's just audio only.
Okay. Well, awesome. Well, we certainly appreciate you coming on the show. And Matt, can people find you? I don't even know if people can find you.
I encourage it, yes. I'm an attorney in Illinois, so please look me up. I'm at a law firm, Chitkowski Law Offices.com. My email, my phone number, my cell phone is all on the website. But that being said, you've got a wide demographic, people from all across the world. So what I recommend is, first of all, none of what I said was legal advice. It's just general information. But if you are seeking an attorney, seek out a local attorney. And, before you do anything involved with finance, or before you, move your assets in your crypto. But in terms of finding me, again, my name is Matt Costardo, Lil Chains, maybe as I'll be known in the future.
Yeah.
And so look me up.
We'll put a link to the to your website so people can find it easy if they're looking for
I really appreciate it, boys. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we certainly appreciate having both of you guys on. And I guess that is all we got today. Shout out to our sponsors, monarchtoken.io and Hodl Fuel. Big shout out to him for sponsoring us. And that's it, guys. We'll talk to you guys later.
See you next time.
It was well worth coming on. Some interesting conversations. Thanks, guys.
Absolutely.
Glad to have you.
Thanks, Hayden. Thanks, Matt.
Well, that's it for this week. Thanks for listening to Beards and Bitcoins. If you like what you heard, show these guys some love and rate review on SoundCloud or iTunes. Also, remember you can always find the guys on social media. The show Twitter page is @BeardsBitcoins. You'll find direct links to BitBoy and jchains from there. Make sure you check for updates, announcements, and contests. Good luck to all who enter. See you next time.